And joining us now from Providence, Rhode Island, is Ted Nesi, a reporter with WPRI.com. He's been covering this story from the beginning. Ted, good morning.
Morning, Jeff.
How was Curt Schilling able to secure this loan in the first place?
Schilling founded the company 38 Studios in 2006 when he was still playing for the Boston Red Sox. Came 2010, he hadn't been able to secure private financing. He'd gone to Wall Street, he'd gone to venture capitalists in Boston, but then he met up with the governor of Rhode Island, who was then Don Carcieri, a Republican, and the Speaker of the House of Rhode Island, and they began to talk, and they came up with this idea of passing a big new loan program in the state of Rhode Island and giving most of the money, about 60% of the guarantees, $75 million to Schilling, and that brought him here.
He also tried to sell the deal to Massachusetts, which said, no, thank you. We're not going to get in on this loan. I'm curious to know, in terms of what the Rhode Island taxpayers now get back, this company has $22 million in assets, and it owes $151 million. That doesn't seem like the kind of deal where the taxpayer is going to get much back, if anything.
No, taxpayers are facing huge losses here in Rhode Island because basically the big assets the company has at this point is the unfinished video game that Schilling's company was working on. There's really no sense of how much they're going to be able to sell the unfinished game for to some other company, because who knows if they'll want to finish it or not. And in the meantime, we're looking at, here in Rhode Island, nearly $90 million, about $90 million in principal and interest payments. They're hoping they might be able to get tens of millions of dollars to whittle that down, but we're still in Rhode Island looking at tens of millions of dollars from the taxpayers going out to bondholders who loan this money.
Ted, is Curt Schilling going to face any charges? Could he face charges?
I don't want to get ahead of things with the investigation, so there's no sense yet of whether Schilling could personally face charges, but there are a lot of questions in Rhode Island now about whether something went wrong or whether there was some sort of inside dealing going on, because toward the very end, before the company collapsed, there was this effort to get the company new tax credits from the state, more taxpayer money to help it. That's now involved a very close associate of the Speaker of the House and other political insiders. So the question now is what promises were made to the bank that gave a loan, and I think that's what investigators are going to be focusing on. But a complete mess for Schilling, regardless of if he faces charges, and he could also face huge personal financial losses.
And it's also becoming a mess for some of the policymakers who helped him get that loan. The head of the Council for Economic Development for Rhode Island has stepped down, a number of others attached to that. Do you think there's a story there beyond just the fact that for a PR reason he would need to take a step down?
I think the same Economic Development Corporation chairman here in Rhode Island, who you mentioned resigned, he was the one who helped secure the deal for Schilling with our previous governor, Carcieri. Lincoln Chafee, the new governor, who used to be a Republican U.S. senator, he's now an independent, he kept that gentleman on, thinking in part that he would be able to keep close tabs on the 38 Studios deal. Obviously, what happened toward the end, someone wasn't keeping an eye on the books because the company unraveled in less than a month. But there are still big outstanding questions about who knew what when, and people in Rhode Island are beyond angry, I'd say, at this point.
Ted Nesi, we appreciate your reporting. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Jeff.